All right, everyone, welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. Today we have a special video for you. We have Dalton here. He's got his own YouTube channel called Grados Capital, where he talks about day trading. He does futures trading. So we're just gonna kind of do a little interview with him, a little question and answer, and just find out a little bit more of the traditional markets and futures trading and what that's all about. So Dalton, tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel, what that's all about, and also maybe a little bit about what you do on a daily basis with your futures trading. So
Yeah.
start off with your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So my channel, Grados Capital, I pretty much, talk about trading and make trading videos. But what's interesting about that is it has evolved as I have evolved as a trader.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing as I've gotten into trading, so I've only been trading maybe about 2.5 years now. So enough to where I feel like I got my legs under me, but definitely not, I definitely still consider myself, new and learning and improving every day. Right. And I think that part of that really never really goes away with a trader. I watch interviews with guys 20 years in the business. They kind of say the same thing. They're always improving. But my channel has evolved. So I started off with options and, just regular calls and puts, like basically, just like swing trades and day trades on just, debit calls and puts. And then I got more into options, on some of the more complex strategies such as credit spreads, iron condors, and butterflies and things like that. And I did that for a while, and I've made a lot of videos about that. It's a very mathematically smart way to trade. What I found in reality for me was that I would be very consistent, but one mistake or the losses in that type of like selling options, which I don't know if you're too familiar with selling options, but the losses can be totally catastrophic. Like your risk to reward, especially if you make a mistake or have a slip in discipline or something gaps down on you overnight or some big volatility expansion, it can be catastrophic. So what I found is like I could be consistent for 2-3 months of like hardly any losers, and
Mm-hmm.
then like a couple weeks will wipe out all those gains.
That's the life of a trader. I feel like.
That's the life of a trader, and it's also the life of like finding out what works and what doesn't work for you. So like credit spreads and that type of trading is a great tool. But then I was like, this isn't really the style that I want to trade. And so I got into futures trading, which I was really introduced to through my mentor, Albert, who is a local guy here. And we actually knew each other before either one of us were into trading. And he's gone to be very successful with futures. So I kind of got into that, which is just more of a, pattern day trading type of thing. You don't have the PDT rule with futures. So that's the rule where in the stock market,
Then you need to have like $25,000 in your account. Okay.
25,000, or else you're only limited to 3 day trades a week. That doesn't apply to futures.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason I got into crypto was because of the PDT rule.
Yeah.
I kept having brokerage accounts restrict access.
Yeah.
And then I had to open up a new brokerage account. I hit the PDT rule, and then yeah, I get that. That's cool, man. Futures doesn't
Yeah.
have that. I learned something new today.
Yeah, there you go. You can also trade, futures at night. There's, the European session, the Asian session. So, I got into that, and that allowed me to be more agile on an intraday basis, which is what I really liked because I can be long and short, within minutes of each other. And futures move true to price. So it's just a dollar value per tick. So if you're, it's two ways, it's long and shorts. Whereas options, there's a lot more factors. With the Greeks, the delta,
Yeah,
the
you got
volatility,
you got
IV.
the time value as well, and there's
Yep.
a lot of math involved in options.
Yeah. So it could be like you could have options and, like when I was selling spreads, I would be like at a safe strike price. So like basically, just to put it very simply, is like, the market's trading here and I don't want it to come down to this price. So I'm like feeling safe the whole
Mm-hmm.
time, right? I'm like, it's never going to come down to this price. And it comes down, it's still not even close to my price, but the volatility expansion causes me to be like so negative, and I'm still safe, but I'm like, if I take this loss, it's like a really bad loss. So
Yeah,
the
trading
options, yeah,
makes you feel some emotions, right?
yeah, a lot of emotions, but options are definitely another world. So I like the true to price. So I guess that's kind of where I've been in my process of a trader, is like finding out
Like what your strengths
what
are.
works for you, what you like, and so that's how I got into futures. And that's one thing that I would say to anyone who is into trading or day trading, is that there's kind of like, you think you're going to be making a lot of money right away, and maybe you will, but the odds are that you're going to have to find what works for you, and that's going to be a process that like really only you can take, and so it's going to take a lot of, like, there's a million ways to skin the cat, but like, what's the one that it fits your personality that you can really succeed with.
That's very
So,
good. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. I've been trading and investing for over 15 years now, and I had to do the same thing. I
yeah,
went through all the traditional markets, investing in standard stocks, options, until I eventually found crypto, and I fell in love with it. And I
hmm,
fell in love with the free aspect of it, where I didn't have to, like, talking about the pattern day trading, where I could be day trading all day long, and there's no regulation and rules on crypto.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I like that trading also, as you're progressing through your education, you find out like what your strengths and weaknesses are, because trading is such an emotional game.
yeah,
And that's another thing. Like, you can trade all of the fake money or play money that you want,
right,
but you won't actually really learn until you're trading with real money, because that makes you
hmm,
feel something completely different. If you're down $1,000 on a play account, you don't feel the same emotion as if you're playing like $1,000 of your own hard-earned money,
right,
and that could be disappearing in the next 10 seconds. Like, what do you do in that situation? So it makes you feel things, makes you learn how to like just manage your emotions.
right.
And yeah, so
Yeah,
that
and
that
it can go very deep. I mean, the market is like the greatest psychotherapist that you could possibly have. Like, I mean, you could go really deep with it because it's really, the charts and patterns and everything are really pretty simple. But you can show somebody exactly what to do, and they'll still mess it up because it's all self understanding. I mean, that's probably 80% of it. Is just regulating yourself, your own emotions, and kind of maybe
and
even having to work through things about yourself, like your fears and like your relationship with money and risk and all of that.
so how many times
Yeah.
have you like had a trade setup or something, you had a price target, and you're like, okay, this is going to hit this price, we're going to be doing so well, and like all of a sudden, like, your emotions make you change your plan or something like this. Has
Yeah.
that ever happened to you?
Yeah. It's happened to me like literally last week. Like, I had a Squawk Box on, which is just Shadow Trader. So I'm pretty much a student of them. And, but so I was in a long, the patterns looked great for me. And, he was pointing out something in the markets that could have, like, he's like, oh, it could kind of turn here or whatever. So I mean, that happens all the time. I've found that pretty much every time that has happened to me, where like, say I have a trade set up, its pattern looks great to me. I have my targets that it's going to go to. It almost is always when I'm like, listen to somebody else in like a chat room or something that says some reason why they think it'll like turn the other way, that makes me want to exit it. So that's happened a few times. I of course, keep a log and learn from that. And so it maybe happens less frequently now. But yeah, I mean, like last week I had a Squawk Box on and I was in a trade. The pattern looked great. I ended up taking profits, but it was a small profit because he was like, oh, it could kind of turn here, like we're coming up. But the pattern ended up playing out exactly how I thought it would, and I was out of the trade.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't the worst case because like I still had profits, but not if I had just stuck with my original plan, like it would have been much better, which is like always ends up being the case. Like just stick with your plan and your edge.
Now,
Yeah.
one other thing I can think of. Have you ever gotten I forget what people call it. So is it BDS, where it's like you get like overconfident. Like it's
Yeah.
called big blank syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
had an amazing trade last fall. We even did a video on it when I was in Squid Game token. I had like a 20x return like in 24 hours
Yeah.
and made a significant amount of profit. But what that did to me is it made me like almost like so overconfident
Yeah.
that I thought that I couldn't make a mistake. And so after having such a gigantic trade, I gave up almost all of that profit within the next month because I was like, oh, I can't be wrong. Boom, boom, boom. 10
Yeah.
bad trades in a row. Has that ever happened
Yeah.
to you as a
Yeah, I
trader?
mean that definitely has happened a lot, and then also the other way around where you get too scared.
Too cautious?
If you're coming off of losses and or whatever, and you're like you don't want to take a setup, even though you like see it there, and you like literally freeze. Like you're like, I know this is a good long or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and then and it works out exactly how you thought it was, but you couldn't execute, and that's one of the things that Mark Douglas talks about in Trading in the Zone. I don't know if you've read that book.
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend that for everybody out there. So you can even get the audiobook for free on YouTube and Spotify. And if you listen at 1.5 speed, it'll take you like 5 hours. But Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas is a classic. But so he basically lays out like five fundamental truths. And one of those is, we can even go through all five, but the one I'm thinking of specifically is there's a random distribution of wins and losses among any given set of variables that defines an edge, right? So like if you have a successful edge in the market, like you could still lose 5 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that the sixth one is going to be a loss. Like each one is just the probabilities playing out. And, just like a coin toss, each coin toss is an individual event, right? But if you were to keep track of all those, it can be a random distribution.
It's like over the long term. It's like card counting in blackjack.
Right.
One of my really good friends is a card counter, and like he takes advantage of that when the counting is in his favor. Yes, he may lose more hands than he wins, but when he wins, the advantage is in his favor. He bets bigger, so
Yeah.
those wins are larger than his losses overall. Same
Yep.
thing in trading.
Yeah.
It's actually like I see that in my own trading methodology. My win rate is probably 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
But however, when I do win, it is massive. Like
Yeah.
I catch the huge setups, I catch the home runs like 1 out of 10 times. That makes up much more from all my losses. One thing I know as a person I need to get better about is managing my risk because I'm sometimes afraid to take my stop losses. Have you ever done that
Yeah.
as well? Like you get to your stop loss, I'm like I can move that a little bit lower.
So I'm pretty conservative. I'm a pretty conservative trader.
Okay.
So I like to, I'll see the pattern. I know where on the chart is this pattern invalidated, and I'll put my stop there. And then I'll have my take profits, and then I'll usually leave some runners. So I'll say I have 5 contracts on, maybe take 3, leave 2 to run, and then trail the stop with it. So it just let it run and trail the stop. But I'm pretty good about that. I just try to let it play out and try to not touch it. Even looking away can sometimes help a lot because you're not going to steer it, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
if you
know.
just set your orders in place and then just let it play out, sometimes that can
Yeah,
help.
that's true. I sometimes I move my stops, and that's one thing I need to get better about. But
Yeah.
I know we're talking a lot about some more advanced stuff on this video, and I know
Mm-hmm.
some of the people that may be watching may be more beginner traders. So they can definitely go check out your channel. I know
Mm-hmm.
you talk a lot about like what you're doing. They can just listen about more in depth of the type of trading that you do. I guess with coffee and crypto, we don't really get too much into the actual like nitty gritty of day trading because
Right.
we're more like, at least I know the way that I made I had the success with crypto was more in finding my own weakness and limiting my risk and putting stuff in long-term cold storage to make those gains. So we don't really talk too much about day trading. That's why we're talking with
Yeah.
you today.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to learn more about day trading futures, definitely go check out Dalton's channel here. I think we got time for maybe 1 or 2 more little tidbits. Is there any
Yeah.
any more of those 5 rules that you
The
wanted to
five,
talk about?
actually, yeah. I'll go through all of them real quick. So, because I think this will provide a lot of value for you guys, and this is really all basically on the psychology side of trading, which is so the 5 fundamental truths of trading. I'm pulling this right out of the book from Mark Douglas. So number one is anything can happen, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
And hey, that sounds simple, but a lot of people approach the market that like it has to go the way I think it's gonna go. If you approach every trade with like more of a probabilistic mindset of like anything can happen, but this has a higher probability than the other, that'll already like ease your emotions a bit. So anything can happen. The second rule is that that you don't need to know what's going to happen next in order to be profitable in the markets. Right? So you don't need to know what's going to happen next in order to take the trade. You just need to have an indication, right? The third rule is the one I mentioned before about a random distribution of wins and losses. That's important. Just because you win a bunch of times in a row doesn't mean you're on top of the world. Just because you lose a bunch of times in a row doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's just let the odds play out over hundreds of trades, right? And so that was the third one. The fourth one is that an edge is nothing more than a higher probability of one thing happening over the other. So it's kind of like I just mentioned, right? That's an edge. That's all you need for an edge. It doesn't have to be that complicated. A higher probability of one thing over another. And the fifth one is that every moment in the market is unique, right? So no moment is going to play out just like if it played out in the past that time, like it might happen again, but every moment is unique. It doesn't have to bounce at that support like it did the past 3 times. There's a probability it will, but it could slice right through it. Everything's unique. So those are the 5 fundamental truths. And I think, and what, Mark says in the book is like, if you really internalize those and live those, maybe even just read them out every morning before you trade, that can just really help your state of being and ultimately help you, trade better.
Yeah. That's those are some really good rules. One thing that I learned over the last 15, 20 years of trading is I thought that I could be super successful because I was always really good in math. I'm an engineer by trade. I thought that I just had to know the numbers, read the patterns, but I actually found that I had to master my emotions more. It's like trading is more than 90% emotion versus just being able to read a chart. You can learn the charts. You can learn how to like read all the patterns within a couple weeks, but it's mastering your own emotions, building a plan and sticking to it, and really not allowing your emotions to, because every time I've diverted from my plan, it's because of some emotion. I felt some emotion.
Oh yeah. Dude, same with me, and same because I watch a lot of interviews of traders that are, the guys I want to be like, that are 10 years ahead of me, and they all say the same thing. They're like, every time I've had like something disastrous, it's always been because I was like angry or like just broke a rule because of whatever. Like that's always the reason, So it's like it's always you getting in your own way.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say or about day trading to our audience here at Coffee and Crypto? Or
I would just say that I do believe it is profitable to build a trading business. That's really what I'm doing with day trading is building a business just like any other business that you would have. And so I do believe that's possible. And I know plenty of people that are very successful at it. As long as you, stick to an edge and have the right mental framework, and don't treat it like gambling. A lot of people are into day trading now, but they almost treat it like sports betting. They're just like, oh yeah, I do that. Like, oh yeah, I threw money into this. But I mean, if you really want to be serious about it, you can really make it a business. And so.
But that involves having a plan, sticking to your plan, mastering your emotions. It takes a lot of skill and time to really learn. And
a lot of work. A lot of work. Another thing, I think, I guess we'll just finish off on this is managing expectations. Like, you could get lucky on a trade here or there, but I mean, if you really want to do it and be consistently profitable on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, like it's going to take work, just like building a company. And so having that expectation of like, I'm not going to be a millionaire tomorrow or this year or maybe even next year, but like if I stick to this and get better, every day and like consistently improve, then where I could be 5 and 10 years from now could be a totally different world. So that's the way I have to think about it. And I think that's important just because everything you see on the internet is like people think you're going to get rich quick. I thought that too.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed. It led me to disappointment because I'm like, why am I not like, making $5,000 a day like this guy? Like, this guy, you can get there, but it'll take time and diligence. So.
Very good advice,
Yeah.
Dalton. I guess we can wrap it up there. This is Coffee and Crypto. We got Dalton here. His channel is called Grados Capital. You guys go check that out. And just as a final reminder, anything we say here is not financial advice. We're not financial advisors, so definitely do your own due diligence. We will catch you all next time.
See you.